Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross and I'm the founder at designcuts.com, and this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert Ian Barnard and American retro design expert Dustin Lee. This week we're joined by one of our favourite people in the whole world, Mr. Scotty Russell. Scotty is an incredible illustrator and hand letterer, and he runs Perspective Collective, which is an amazing creative community and podcast. Scotty is super passionate about the art of the creative side hustle, and he's going to be bringing some serious value about this for all of you lovely listeners today. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Woo, Scotty, welcome to the show.
What's up? Good to be here. There was like zero technical difficulties either getting this set up, which is what I love.
It was super smooth. I mean, none of us have beads of perspiration or anything from 30 minutes of trying to figure out mic issues.
I mean, what could go wrong with four people with mics trying to make them all work together?
Well, I should point out, Lisa's not even here because she's having internet issues. So the gremlins are at work today. They're out in force. They're trying to screw up everything they possibly can.
It was really nice to meet her for 30 seconds. That was pretty awesome.
She was Instagramming me being like, I'm so sad that I can't stay on the call because of my internet. Like, he seemed really funny and nice. She didn't get to see the real you, clearly. You know,
I know. First impressions, I just go for those and then I ruin it from there.
But yeah, Scotty, two things. First of all, I am tremendously happy to have you on the show. I know it's going to be a good one. Second of all, you've been getting me in trouble with my girlfriend because I'm very good at like picking up accents. So I came back from Creative South speaking in this weird American twang, and especially your name whenever you come up in conversation. And I mentioned you, I'm like, Scotty. Hey, Scotty. So I don't know how to say your name in an English accent. Scotty.
Ask Ian. Ian, how do you say it?
Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty.
Yeah, I've slipped into Scotty. My boy Scotty Russell. But yeah, I'm so sorry. Any American listeners? Yeah, I think it's going to be a great episode. I love what you're building with Perspective Collective. I was saying to Dustin and Ian before we hit record, instantly when we had a first chat, I was like, okay, this guy's really like-minded. You know, I really like how you handle things. And what are you going to be talking about today in terms of like being the creative side hustle guy?
Oh, I don't know. I was just going to show up and wing it.
You got a whole presentation, right?
Yeah, right. Was I supposed to have a pitch deck or slides ready for this?
Okay,
like Dustin Lee on the future or something like that. So
let me reframe that then. Like, how has side hustles impacted your life and what you're doing? Because you still got a full-time job.
Yes. So for those who don't know, I do UI UX senior web design at the day job, graphics as well as branding. But side hustle has provided insane amounts of opportunity. Honestly, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys if I had not been doing my own thing for 5 years now. Started off as just drawing on Instagram and posting daily, weekly art. And that's how I linked up with Ian Barnard, like easily 4 years ago. So it's been awesome to see his growth. And, you know, I've been trying to follow in his footsteps, just a couple 100,000 followers shy of that guy right now. But then that led into blogging because I thought I had something more to share than just a polished, pretty Instagram post. Then blogging led to public speaking led to teaching workshops, and then teaching workshops led to the podcast. And I've been doing that 3 years in August. And the number one thing side hustling has done for me is help me build relationships with people I would have never thought possible, you know, being in my little corner of Iowa. So, you know, it's allowed me to really connect with people all over the world.
I love
and
it.
Get some confidence in myself when I really didn't have any for the first 26 years of my existence.
So how old are you now? 31? 30?
I am 30. Don't
30.
push it.
I was just adding 5 years. You said you've been doing it 5 years.
July is when the big 31 comes. That's the golden birthday.
I'm 38, so you got a long way. You're just a youngin'.
I'm 40, so you got like another 10.
You guys are wise sages, and I'm just trying to get on your level.
I'm 31 in May 16th, actually, so it's around the corner.
Damn, you're old.
Can I say, so I know, of course you weren't expected to plan anything out. We never plan it out. We just like to have conversations with people. But I was telling Tom before before you got on the call and we were preparing, that you had literally changed my speaking life. Before you, and this is not blowing smoke at you. Before you, I felt bad when I was done. I could feel it in my solar plexus. I could feel this like I didn't do it right. And then I saw you talk. You did this amazing talk on how we can't all be pizza. In fact, just last night, my daughter had drawn a little pizza. I even took a photograph of it to send you on like this big drawing she did. And I was like, I gotta show this to Scotty. Anyways, that talk changed my life. Like, no messing with you. Like, because remember I called you. I was like, hey, like, can you coach me? You coached me. You told me the books to get. You were in the front row watching me talk. I've never been more comfortable.
Creative South, man. You crushed it.
Dude, I'd never been more prepared in my life. Like, you know, you taught me everything. You know, if the slides don't work, be ready for that. You know, like, time this thing. Get your own clicker so you like know what to do, so you're comfortable with what you're using. Do it in front of your wife because she's going to be your biggest critic, right? She's going to be the one that's going to make you the most nervous. So many tips you unloaded on me, and I personally think people would love on this if like you gave like just a little bit of a touch on why we can't all be pizza, because that was like the catalyst for me wanting to be like you in terms of your speaking.
Yeah, that's
like that
like one
speech
of the,
made me like,
that's
crap,
the motto
this guy's
of
killing
my
me.
life. Yeah, I build that's baked into the crust of my life for sure. Is you can't make everyone happy. You are not pizza. So, I mean, you want me to touch on that now?
Well, whenever. I just think it'd be cool to add.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
All right, Ian, what do you think? Should I dive into this?
Of course, always when you should dive into stuff like that.
Here's a helping deep dish serving. Okay, so basically what this comes down to. So I grew up a big time people pleaser. I was the kid who got picked on, bullied, beat up. I got my first pair of Jinkos when they weren't cool, and I heard hell for that. But you know, I spent my whole life wanting to get a little taste of popularity and, you know, understanding what acceptance felt like. So I would do, act, or say anything to camouflage myself, be a chameleon to get someone to accept and like me. And as I got older, I got a little bit better in it, got into sports, and, you know, I lived this whole life as someone fake trying to please the masses. And once I graduated and I stumbled into like rekindling my love for drawing again and posting online, it spilled over into that scene. So I wasn't creating for me anymore. I kind of lost sight of everything. And, you know, I would create what I thought people wanted to see. And then one day I heard this quote. I don't even know where it was, so I can't attribute it to, you know, the owner of this quote. So I'm not claiming it's mine. I just draw fun things to it. But you can't make everyone happy. You are not pizza. So if you think about it with pizza, you can tailor it to anyone's needs. You can make it vegan, gluten. You can put weird stuff on it like sardines, whatever floats your boat. But for me, I realized I was trying to be pizza too much and getting everyone to like me and accept me and love my work. And at the end of the day, you got to realize you can't create for the masses. You can't please everyone, because when you try to please everyone and create for everyone, it makes your work really, really hard to resonate with someone. And the more I listen to books like This Is Marketing by Seth Godin, I realize, you know, go for depth instead of going for width. You know, if you have 500 people within your audience, that's 500 people more than you had, you know, a couple of years ago or when you had 0. And so go all out, pay all attention to just those people and stay in your own lane. Keep doing the things that make you, you. And eventually you're going to attract those weirdos, those other freaks that wave their freak flags as well into your tribe. So stop trying to please everyone. You can like pizza, but stop trying to be pizza. And that's like a daily self-reminder I have to keep reminding myself so I don't go back to my old tendencies. You know, I like who I am now and I get to embrace that. And it took me a long, long time to get to this point.
I love it. And
that's the short end.
As a fellow people pleaser, do you now like shun people that aren't a good fit? How do you handle that? Because for me, it's painful. If I'm like,
in terms of like asking to be on the show or people asking for your
like
time?
I don't know, just in general, day to day, because I think I almost try and channel it into what I do. I'm like, I want everyone to be happy. And so I channel that into like great customer service and community building.
Yeah. I actually got an email last week, someone saying, hey, I recently unfollowed you and I need to let you know why. It's because you dropped the F-bomb. You know, I'll try to keep it clean here for you guys, but I dropped the F-bomb in an Instagram post and they specifically told me they stopped following me for this. And like, in the past, that would have really bugged me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would have tried to win them back, but I'm just like, hey, you know, this is me. I'm not going to filter myself like I did early on, like the early days, my first 2 years of doing Perspective Collective. I was so scared to offend people. And these days, anybody can get offended by anything. So, I'm just going to show up and be me. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. Go find the people that it is for, or go find whoever you vibe to the most, who's bringing you value. So, that was a funny experience to realize how far I've come in a year of not letting that bother me.
I love it. It's really liberating, isn't it? When you get to that point.
Yeah.
Can I ask the obvious question about that?
What's the obvious question?
Oh, well, or I guess that begs the question of, did you find that it hurt your audience, or did it just grow your audience because more people were drawn to you because you were being yourself?
I think my audience has definitely gone deeper for sure. I'm not necessarily width. I think naturally the more you go for depth, it's going to go width at the same time. But the more I continue to like dig deeper in myself and go into the areas of the unknown, explore my past, what are these things that make me me, the weird things that make you you, the more I start expressing those and embracing those. Like when I really started showing my love for pizza, space, cats, and coffee, then it did start going for more width, but I kept going for more depth at the same time. But a lot of people didn't follow me. That's not the first email I've ever had like that, and that's okay. But yeah, I know it slowly gets a little bit bigger the more and more I go out of my way to try and connect and embrace each person that I engage with.
Yep.
So
this show, Scotty, as I know you're aware, you listen to the show, I believe, we're all about honesty, like harsh realities, all that kind of stuff. So I love everything you said about the benefits of a side hustle and what that can bring into your life. But what does it look like, the actual reality of doing it? Because it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah. It looks glamorous on the outside looking through, the lens of just Instagram. But as someone like Dustin and Ian, I know Ian was grinding for a while before he flipped to do his thing full time. Like he was pushing it too. So it's early mornings. It's doing things on my lunch breaks, doing things on my 2 10-minute breaks. When my son gets put down to bed, I got like an hour to grind real quick again before me and my wife can, connect the rest of the night. So it's I don't know, things that you do sacrifice some areas. And the thing I sacrificed the most, which I don't tell anybody to do, is I probably not the best at getting the most sleep that I need. For sure.
Well, I was going to say, like, something
all
has
the
to
time.
give, right? Because you're a father, as you just mentioned, and there's only a limited number of hours in the day. So, like, how many hours a day do you think you're spending on your side hustle right now? All in.
Oh, man. So we'll just talk it out loud. So you and me even had a call last week, and I was up at 4:30 to be on our 5 a.m. call. So I typically get up at 4:30 and grind till 6 something, be at work at 7. Maybe 3.5 hours a day would be a really, really good day. Now that I have a kid, before I had a kid, it was even more, and I put in some time on the weekends. I'll wake up early. But yeah, there's a lot of sacrifice. I don't get as many phone calls as I used to, but you start realizing like you want to surround yourself with the like-minded people who, turn the fat. A lot of people aren't going to be about it, but also I abuse relationships too with my family. My wife too, she's had to put me in check multiple times, threaten me. And, now that I have my son, I'm like, wow, I was so dumb. Not dumb. I just was blind to the fact of how selfish I was on things. So when you're pursuing your side hustle, and for all of us, this is play. This is our work is play. Ian, especially you, man. You look like you're having the most fun out of anybody with the stuff you do. Let me just experiment real quick for this project for Google or something. Let me draw on this basketball or something. Like it's truly play. And once your passion becomes play and you can monetize it, you get tension around it. It's really hard to like not see past this tunnel vision, And so having my son, that really dawned on me like, wow, there's a lot of things I said yes to that aren't that important. So what are my top priorities from now on? And if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And so it's like my son became this filter for me, because if I say yes to this, anything I say yes to affects him now. Before it just affected my relationship and I was a sweet talker, I could get out of it with my wife. But now it like truly affects this little human I helped create, and gets me emotional thinking about that, man, because he's so awesome. It's like, why I don't want to do anything to hurt this guy or jeopardize my time with him. So yeah, I have to be even more determined on what I'm allocating my time to right now.
what I found helpful is that, you have a limited amount of time. When you have children, you have a limited amount of time when you're their world, which is like,
That's right.
I suppose, say the first 18 years of their life, and then they may go off to, college, university, whatever they may be, or, even in their teenage years, they start seeing their friends more. But I don't want to get to the point where like they're a teenager and I go, oh, do you want to hang out? And they go, oh, you never hang out with me when I was young.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to ever happen. I want them to know that they are more important than my work rather than the other way around.
Absolutely.
Even though they, they see how I enjoy my work, but I never want it to be the thing that comes above them, because then, later on when I want that attention from them, they're going to go, but you gave your work more attention than me, and I never want that to happen.
When you're in the home
Well,
getting neglected, when you're 90, you're going to be like, damn, that grid builder monopolizing my time.
Well, and
Instagram.
Something I've noticed about being a father, and I'm curious if Scotty and Ian, you guys experience this too, is that you think that you can see everything that's coming, but what happens is kids change like that. One day your kid's crawling, the next day he starts walking. No more seeing that little kid who crawled. It surprises you. So one day my daughter's embarrassed, I'm dropping her off at school. Like that, which one day, like magic, it happens. And like sometimes my daughter wants me to bring her up to bed. She's like, Daddy, can you carry me? She's 5 years old now. I could tell, one day there will be the last time I pick her up, because I won't be able to pick her up anymore. And that day will come as a surprise. And so you realize you have to filter. I mean, you're so right. It's literally the most intense filter on your life ever.
Well, and my buddy Jonathan Jackson from the Forefathers, he said it once, like, your kids don't care about your portfolio. And I was like, ooh, that hit me. Yeah, that was like a jab to the gut. I'm like, okay. And I wrote it down. I have it right over here, and I have it written down on my desk at work all the time. Because, man, it's really hard for me to, like, unplug from the day. My mind's always going. I'm always like, man, I got another idea, or hey, I really need to find time to work on my website, right, Tom? And it's like, man, there's only so much time in the day to allocate this time, and I want to always make sure he's number one. And I can't say I do that 100% of the time, and
but
it puts
human,
me in check
right?
each day.
You do your best.
I'm totally human. I'll admit, like, I get blinded by the grind often. I've been burned by it too. But it's been it's a blessing and a curse, no doubt.
I think your perspective is really good, though. I recently, like last week, heard a story about Sam Walton, a guy that started Walmart. And I don't know if I can't confirm for sure it's true, but like I had heard it on another podcast, and they'd said that on his deathbed, he was like looking back at his life. He'd spent so much time hustling on building Walmart from one single store to this huge brand, right? And he was just like, I messed it up.
Yeah, I say it as, you're so busy building your empire that you forget to look back, and there's nobody there to celebrate it with. And I like, again, put myself in check. Like, I'm trying so hard to build this empire outside the day job, and but who can I turn around and celebrate it with? So now it's like everything goes through my wife. If I get a project inquiry, I'm like, babe, is this a hell yes, a hell no? She's the green light filter for things now. And I make sure she's super included, because before I kind of boxed her out. And it's like, how can you enjoy and celebrate the W's with me when I'm not letting you in on stuff? So she's always chiming in her ideas. I'll make sure to give her credit on certain things. She's a killer photographer. She built my desk. Like, I make sure to wrap her in the dreams, or have her help me with certain things I suck at, with organization or Excel sheets, or, if I'm running like a vendor booth somewhere. So yeah, make sure you wrap in your significant other, because otherwise it's easy for them to, what's the word?
Divorce you?
Not divorce, but it's hard for them to like celebrate the wins with you. It's hard for them to care and be invested if you don't.
That's so
include
smart, yeah. Because I've been guilty of that as well, like boxing out my girlfriend. And the more you involve them and communicate, that can only be a positive thing.
We're getting deep today, guys.
This is what the show's all about, though, man. Welcome to the Honest Designer Show.
Yes.
Scotty, with so much limited time for your side hustle, how do obviously some of the bits are like, you got a guest on a podcast, and that's fine, because it's I suppose it's more of an admin thing, because it's you got them on. Obviously, you've got to think about questions and stuff like that. But how do you deal with when you have to come up with stuff creative and it's not coming, and you've only got a limited amount of time to do it in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you're like, I got 35 minutes, otherwise I'm not going to see my son. Like that can't help with creative block, right?
To be honest, the only time I really get creative block is when I'm doing like guest artwork, you know, like say Ian's on, or all three of you guys have been on the podcast, you know, and it's like, what the heck am I going to create this week for him? And honestly, it's to the point now I'm going to probably stop doing it because it's not fulfilling. It takes time away from like way bigger things, like the whole online digital side of business I'm trying to pivot to right now, or spending time with my son. So I'm going to do the old template way. But otherwise, if it's personal work, man, I have a million ideas I just never get to. And in doing like episode artwork for guests too, like I want to pay them tribute, but at the same time, you know, there's some things that light my soul on fire I don't get a chance to do. So, you know, that'll free me up to do, you know, a personal project here and there too. But I'll be completely honest, I don't get creative block often. And a big thing is I collect my ideas. You know, I'm big on that. Like I have a running list of ideas. I have aqua notes that I have up in my shower. So, you know, the best ideas happen in the shower. Don't let another idea go down the drain. So I have like shower notes, an ongoing like notes list, or Wunderlist app, or an Excel. That is their tagline, by the way, too.
Have you got an app which keeps track of all your various to-do list apps that you've got floating around? So it's
an
like
app for all my to-do list apps?
Yeah.
No, Wunderlist is pretty much like the main thing, and then I funnel that into like this little. I have like my little. I call it the creative grind system. You know, it's how I prioritize my day, my A1 tasks, my B tasks, my C tasks, and, you know, anything that's a D task gets destroyed or delegated, you know. So like I have this little system that I have for organizing what needs to get done in a week and each day. And, you know, I'm really, really.
What's the main app you use?
What's up?
What's the main app you use? You just mentioned it.
Wunderlist.
Oh, yeah. Wunderlist. Okay.
I'm looking at it right now on my desktop. I got the same one.
Yep. So I'll just like vomit all my main tasks, and I just organize them into these huge buckets. So here's all my A tasks, here's all my B tasks, and then in my field notes book, people who are listening can't see it, but each day I have like a little system and I keep going. So I plan out my day each day, A1 tasks, I have my A tasks. Those are things I need to attack each day, and my goal is to just get done one thing each day. So if you're someone who's doing a side hustle and you're trying to start a podcast, you want to start doing weekly drawings or any kind of vlog, you know, just give yourself one task each day. That way you can show up, cross the box that say you accomplished something. You move the needle forward to whatever goal or vision that you're working toward, short term or long term. So, but I try to at least get, you know, list out 3 main things I should do today. If I get 1, that's fine. I still showed up. 3 B tasks, which are kind of like on the back burner. A C task, it'd be cool to get to. A D task just needs to be destroyed or delegated. So that's stuff. And if it's on the list, it's not important. And I structure my day by I at least got to get one thing done a day.
Are you naturally organized, or have you had to force it?
I used to be the person to wing it, and then I'd play the victim card when nothing good would happen in my life. It felt like no opportunities would come my way. And then when I started getting organized and being intentional with my time and blocking out those, you know, those time chunks in a day of when this is going to be done. Okay, I got 10 minutes on this 10-minute break at work. Okay, this is where I'm going to go respond back to comments real quick from a post.
I so feel you on that, because I will often do it in the elevator up to my flat. Between parking my car and going in my front door, I'll frantically do comments, because even like 2-minute windows, when you have limited time, you have to squeeze them, right?
Yeah. So in like the tasks that require the most willpower, that's why I wake up in the morning, because like the world hasn't had its chance to dump its problems on me. It's just me in my office, sipping coffee with a cat on my lap, and I'm just in the zone. Like, and I have the most willpower. That's when I'll write. That's when writing takes the most willpower generally, and things like drawing, I can do that any time of the day and just get lost in the sauce. But so mornings are sacred to me. I used to be a night owl, but I'm an early bird now, and that's what really changed my business, is starting to get up early. Like that, I think that's the thing that really, really changed. I'd say about 3-4 years ago, getting up early was the big shift that really, really pushed me to the next level.
How do you do that? Because I'm such a night owl. I'm horrendous in the mornings. Like one of the worst people I've ever known in the mornings. I really struggle. And if I got up at 4:30 every day, I would make myself sick. I would burn out. I'd just be a shambles.
It's like a muscle you train. Like if you're doing intermittent fasting, just like start going a little bit longer. If you're in your time schedule, add a little bit more time. If you in the gym and you're lifting this amount of weight, just keep incrementally adding 5 pounds each week to build that strength and endurance. And same thing, if you usually get up at 6:30, just get up at 6 and then do that for a week and then get up at 5:45. Set one alarm, give yourself some rules, some boundaries.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was doing that, I found eventually I loved it. I loved going to bed early. The whole process of just getting into bed early felt so good. I mean, the whole thing.
There's a book called My Miracle Morning Too by Hal Elrod. That one's awesome. And then there's like the secret successes of millionaires. It's all they have like an early morning routine. I think you still can be way successful late at night, but I'm a morning guy. I like that.
That frustrates me because like my daughter sometimes doesn't go to bed at 10:30. Neither of them sleep through the night. And so I'm absolutely shattered because I can't go to bed early and they wake up early and they wake in the middle of the night. Oh, no. So I'm like, you have these lists that are always going around Twitter about, how you're going to succeed, and it's get this minimum amount of sleep and, all these things. And it's like, but I don't have control over that because my kids don't sleep or, there's things out of my control. And it's
and there's no one size fits all. I found a system that works for me and I want to package up because maybe this system could help someone else. So like, I want to teach it because a lot of people ask how you do it. Like, how do you make time to grind and execute outside a day job? And I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for a while now. I think I can like package it up and, pass it on to someone else. Then maybe it works for them and maybe they can just tweak it to their liking. But for me, like you guys all get that productivity high and I get that high of when I cross something off a list or I did my one main task that moved the needle forward before I even go to work at 7 a.m. Like, man, that gets me so geeked out and energized and ready to just conquer the rest of the day. I chase that high.
Can I ask, Scotty? I think about these tasks in terms of proactive and reactive, where proactive does move it forward and move the needle and help your future success. Reactive is something like, I don't know, responding to comments or emails,
Perfect, yeah.
right? Are you trying to actively tackle one proactive thing each day? So you're trying to actually move stuff forward each day and do all the reactive stuff?
So in my world, those proactive ones that move the needle forward, those would be the A tasks. Yeah. Those are the ones you need to attack. Those are the most important. So I try to make sure I get at least one of those a day. If it's a recording, if it's, finishing some artwork or something that, or getting the landing page done, that's a big task.
And I love
and then the
how
reactive
they compound, right?
Yep. So say I only have that 10-minute gap right now. I don't have enough time to go attack one of those main tasks. That's where I'll hurry up and go do a B task. So it all just depends on that chunk of time that's open.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to ask a question kind of on behalf of myself, but I know this is going to be so relevant for so many listeners. I think probably the majority of listeners have a side hustle thing. I don't think that many of them are like full-time crushing it, which is normal. And I have, as you know, my own side hustle, but I don't work a 9 to 5. I work like at a minimum 10-hour day, more like a 12-hour day running my company. So time is very limited. There's things I'm not willing to sacrifice, like sleep and my health, and time with my girlfriend. So I really get like an hour a day. So for all the people out there who are that limited on time, what would you recommend?
Man, I think it was, I got this from Lauren Hom. I'm going to butcher it a little bit, and shout out to Lauren. You guys have had her on. She's been on mine. Got to see her talk recently. She's crushing it from a passion project side point. But I think how I can help people build time for the passion projects, like then they can put in time to what she has. So I think it really can coexist. But I think she stated something like if you put in 15 minutes a day for like a whole month, like 30 days, that equals up to like an 8-hour day. Mm-hmm. So imagine if you had 8 hours to work on something in a month. Like if I had that, I could get a lot done.
Yeah.
So even just away. 15 minutes, anybody can make time for 15 minutes in a day.
Yeah.
I think that's an excuse if you're saying you can't.
Yeah. It's good.
If we're being honest designers here.
It's discipline, right?
Discipline's huge. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm fully disciplined in all areas of life, but I think a matter of it, if you say you want it, then you're going to do it. But if you kind of want it, you're going to kind of see results. And a lot of people just kind of want it, and they don't put in the effort, they're not ready to sacrifice. They're not ready to like not watch Netflix for the night or anything. Like, well, I guess I binge Game of Thrones, but I'm working on the side.
You're the biggest fan.
Yeah, I'm the
No
biggest
spoilers.
fan. I'm a Game of Thrones nerd.
Scotty, I would love to actually steal some questions from your audience because you are the creative side hustle guy. You know the most common pain points and common questions you get from your audience. So apart from what we've covered already, are there other like common themes in what people struggle with, what they ask you about?
I think obviously the biggest one is the time bucket. How do you make time to grind and execute outside the day job? Then the other one is just all about comparison. You know, how do you deal with comparison? How do you find your voice? How do you show up and find your style? A lot of these things are things I'm dealing with, so I just talk about it as I go. And the biggest way that I find about comparison is stop sourcing the internet for your inspiration. Use something like Instagram as a tool and go out of your way to celebrate others instead of envying someone else. You know, go and share their work. You know, go share it with your audience. Go, you know, say you're on Dribble and you're like, wow, this work is incredible. You know, just go tweet it to your audience somewhere, or go share someone else's post on your Instagram stories. Go comment on someone who got featured. You know, just try to build that community, because the more you have community and around those like-minded people, it's, you know, it's easier to see the bigger picture instead of getting wrapped up in the micro comparison part of things. But stop sourcing things from online. Limit yourself, your time on your social media apps. But comparison is definitely the big one, and I struggle with it all the time. Like, I see something like Ian, and I've watched Ian's career just explode over the years, or Stephon Kuhns or James Lewis. You know, there's those people that really, really hit their stride, finding their voice. But like at the same time, you got to realize everyone's path's different. You're all running a different race. You're running a different marathon with a different starting point. You're all going to a different destination at your own pace. And, you know, that's something, again, I have to remind myself all the time. I'm running my own race. I got to stop trying to run someone else's.
That's smart.
I like it.
What are you guys hearing over there?
Hopefully not some static.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if someone was wanting to start up a side hustle? What would your advice be for them? Because, like, for instance, my friend just texted me today just saying he just lost his design job and now he doesn't know what to do. So what would you recommend in terms of, like, you know, if you had a bit of time and you needed to, you know, do what you did, what, you know, obviously you've learned some lessons over the years, you know, you've done stuff you think actually that didn't work, but you've done stuff that has been really, I suppose, influential in how it's sort of grown your...
I think in the early stages, it's okay to experiment. Go dip your toes in all the waters, you know, before you go and dive headfirst into something. Like, I'm going to go do a 365 lettering challenge, but I haven't even started lettering anything right now, you know, like that could be good. But I'm big on finding your sweet spot. You know, what's the overlapping center of your greatest strength and your greatest passion? Like, for me, I've always been good at drawing things, and I've always been super passionate about people. So naturally it just blended into art combined with the podcast. You know, it eventually intersected, but it started with me just pursuing art again with good vibes and spreading it on Instagram. But, you know, try one thing, test it out, do a little mini side project of it. You know, maybe you want to get into lettering, do like a series of 5 quotes related to your top songs of music. You know, make something bite-sized and manageable to get your feelers, get your spider sense tingling. Like, is this for me? Did I really enjoy it? Did others seem to enjoy it as well? And I think the more important part is, are you vibing to your own work? And if it's not something you're vibing to and you did your series of 5, you know, go try the next thing that, you know, that intrigued you or excited you, and then kind of move from there.
Does your side hustle bring in an income? Or you try not to? Is it, for you, is the side hustle never about any of the monetization of it?
It's becoming more about monetizing the attention, you know, because I don't want to do the day job forever. But I kind of got myself into some trouble with student loan debt, going to a private school, trying to play football. So like I was naive about that whole situation. So yes, I'm trying to be smarter about things, but still give even more value. So it was freelance was probably the biggest bucket. You know, somehow I was doing freelance on the side too. But that wasn't really lighting me up, and it's not creating the most impact. So I've taken a step back from doing freelance at the moment, unless it's a hell yes. Like, there's no way I can say no to this. And now more of it has from affiliates. And like from the podcasts, sponsorships, or there's Patreon support, things like that have helped me more monetize it. And digital products, I have one digital product out that's done pretty well, and I really want to go more into that side of things and really start building the passive income and building the email list and start working harder, serving more, making a bigger impact, and just being more strategic and putting my business cap on, because freelance just takes too much time away. If I can put all the effort in up front, and have things kind of work for me, and then do some maintenance from the side, like that's the direction I want to go.
I think the patience of that is unbelievable. Like, people don't realize until they try it. And I've talked about this before. I see it the same way as compound interest or something, where it starts so slow, it's pretty much on zero, right? Barely moves. And then it like very, very gradually picks up to the point you can barely notice it. And then it starts to like much further down the line, it picks up more and more and more. And then you get that hockey stick graph thing, ideally, where it kicks in and becomes exponential. But it sounds like you're kind of in that earlier phase. I am with my side hustle too.
I feel like I'm just like on that gradual slant up. Like, exactly. I've done so many things over 5 years. I've tried to be a logo designer. I tried to be a guy who draws tattoos for people. I've done t-shirt designs. I've done murals. I've done editorial. I've done anything you can think of. I feel like I've done, and now I'm like pivoting to that person I think I'm really supposed to embrace right now.
For people listening, kind of what you're saying is, okay, so you have to work hard at the day job, but then you get up at 4:30 a.m. You put in all these hours which suck up your free time. You risk pissing off your partner and not giving due attention to your child. You have to juggle everything and perhaps even sacrifice sleep. And then you have to do that for years and years and years. And
it sounds horrible.
Yeah, it sounds horrible, right? So you do it for years and years. You earn like little to no money or build anything that's like bringing in steady money, just on a kind of vague like hope and faith that you're going to get this hockey stick in the future. And for me, and I think you as well, this is everything I believe in. I think that is the answer. And when you're on that hockey stick and everyone's thinking, how did you do it? You look back and say, well, it's the last 5-10 years or whatever. But when you're in it, everything I described, that sounds like madness to any normal person. That sounds like insanity. So how do you deal with that? Because do you get points like me where you're like, is it all going to pay off? Is it going to be worth it?
All the time, especially that little inner critic that tries to convince you that you're a worthless turd and like, what are you wasting your time doing this for? But I can't remember where I heard this. Maybe it was from Gary Vee, but I always try to flip back to some perspective. If I'm on my deathbed, am I going to regret like not going all out, trying to pursue something that I truly enjoy, that brings me happiness, that I see all my friends clearly crushing life with? Or do I want to just keep passively existing and clocking in, doing a job, building someone else's dreams instead of, pursuing mine? And it's like there is no straight path. It's just a squiggle trying to get to where you're supposed to go. And yeah, if I start thinking about myself, if I'm like 95, hopefully by the time I'm that age, everyone's living to like 130. If I'm on my deathbed, like, am I going to regret not saying yes to trying that public speech that ended up changing my life? Am I going to regret not testing out the podcast because I wasn't good enough to start and I never interviewed anybody before? Am I going to regret not hitting publish on Instagram when I was too scared to show my work for the first? I was scared to claim I was an artist until I was like 21. Like, I never shared it with anyone until a buddy stumbled across my sketchbooks in college and like twisted my arm to share them on Facebook, which then led me to sharing on Instagram, and sharing work on Instagram, which Ian can attest to, changed my life. So it's like, I would regret all that.
So it's a reframing of perspective.
Reframing.
For everyone out there listening, because a lot of people are in this, lens. Myself included, they've got their side hustle and they're like full of self-doubt. It feels like it's just getting no traction because that line is still so flat. They're just feeling no inflection. And they're like, is it going to be worth it? Is it going to pay off? You're saying like, just reframe it. Get into that kind of deathbed thinking of like, how, racked with regret will I be if I didn't go after this thing?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it, I would regret all of it had I not been doing this. Like, I lived a very sad, woe is me lifestyle before I like the switch flipped a couple years ago. I changed my perspective, and then that's where Perspective Collective came from. Because man,
oh no, Didn't know that.
It was a woe was me time. I spent my whole life playing a victim. So
I'm going to hand off to Dustin and in here because sorry, I love this stuff, so I'm kind of hogging the mic. But my final comment would be, I gave Scotty a compliment, which I know he remembers, where I said if he was a stock, I would invest in him, because as far as I'm concerned, like, it's done. I know you're just starting to feel that inflection point. If I could jump in a time machine and fast forward 5 years, I think people will be like staggered with where you're at. But I can see it in my head. Like, I just think it's done. And I think sometimes we need to apply that faith to ourselves as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, anybody can believe in you, but if you don't have the guts to believe and see your own potential, then I mean, you're kind of screwed. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people tell me, "Oh, your work is so great," like all the time. But until you like truly believe it yourself, then you can like step into this future version of yourself. And I feel like I'm finally able to be confident and step into that version. So I'm so stoked to become that 31 through 35, you know. And Ian, you found your stride. Like, you feel like you were late in the game and now you're just blowing up. Or Michael Fugoso, you know, everybody finds their stride at a different time. Gary Vee found his stride when he was in his 30s as well. So yeah.
I think it takes like your 20s to really figure out who you are, because you don't know when you're a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't know who you are, because you're just like, it's just you're there's so many emotions going on, you know, as you're changing and people around you are changing and your friends are changing and massive life choices you have to make. And then in your 20s, you're living out those choices that you made as a teenager. And then you're just like, you're getting to know yourself, and it takes a long time. And, you know, and that's why, like, I don't regret it being 34 when I picked up calligraphy and lettering and stuff, because I might not have enjoyed it 10 years ago, or, you know, like 15 years ago. If I started earlier, it might not have been something I fell in love with. And so, and plus now I know what makes me tick, and I can understand that sort of self-awareness has been really important to understand my process, because if I'm trying to be Scotty Russell, it's not going to work for me. I have to, like you saying earlier, I have to
get
work
down
out
the gym quite a lot, as I think we all
I have to get really. My arms are tiny. I did my weightlifting when I was a teenager, and then I couldn't do it anymore. Went half the size.
I mean, Scotty looks like he's eating the three of us. Not in a fat way, like in a just big way.
Just in his arms.
Yeah. Yeah, just hold us, Scotty. Keep us safe.
Oh, I will.
How do you find time to go down the gym as well? How do you prioritize that over your creative stuff?
That's sanity. Like I mentioned, I grew up the little chunky dude who got picked on and bullied hardcore. Like, I've always known a bully, like, all the way through college. So that makes me feel good. And it's important to like release those endorphins and feel good about yourself. Otherwise, when I don't go to the gym, yeah, it's a different conversation in my head. So,
and I shouldn't laugh. Like, the thought of someone bullying you now, I think they'd have to be suicidal. Yeah, he's the guy I'm going to pick on.
Yeah, don't mess with me.
Actually, I got a quote today. I've heard a quote. Do you know Dan Petty?
Yeah,
guy with a beard. He's doing the Greater Than Avatars thing, and on one of them, I can't remember the guy's name now, who he was doing it for, but he says he runs a lot and goes to the gym. It says it's really hard to do good work when you don't feel good. Do you agree with that? As in terms of like being like making sure that your wellness, in terms of like, I suppose, eating healthy or exercising and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the more you take care of yourself, the more energy you're gonna have to, it's just you're a filled cup, and it's just gonna pour over. So man, I can just come into a new piece or something, like, especially people, if you're stuck with creative block, like, go run, go hit the gym real quick. You'll be amazed how many ideas will flood to you when you're just in the middle of not thinking about something. You're not thinking about that project, that client project where you're stuck at with a couple thumbnail sketches. Something's not working. This color scheme's not working. You go to the gym and disconnect, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. I didn't even think about things from that angle. Your mindset shifts, your energy shifts. Your
I think-
vibrations change.
I think the good thing about exercise and sleep is the fact that normally you don't have your phone on you, or if you do, it's just recording your exercises. I found recently that I've not given myself enough time off screens, and that actually my mind is filled with too many ideas that I can't, like, it's a bit cloudy.
Mm.
And that, like, I haven't posted this week at all to Instagram in terms of like my main feed, because I just
Are you okay?
I
It's
know.
weird.
And it's getting more regular. That's the problem. And I just like ideas used to, like, what it was like. I was just like, it was products and ideas, and I was just like every couple of weeks, and every day I was posting.
I've got an idea, and no one shoot me. This is a joke, but you could like write the word vegan with a steak, because controversy is social media.
That would be such a mistake.
Oh no, he didn't.
Yeah, or that could be the caption. This was a mistake.
And for the record, my girlfriend's a vegan, so big supporter of that movement. But I'm just going for that kind of Donald Trump like controversy in the post.
Yeah, but that's controversy for controversy's sake, though, isn't it? That's upsetting someone.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Purpose.
That would be a terrible idea.
I've had people yell at me for drawing pepperonis, so because they were hardcore vegans. I'm like, hey, just don't.
I did have an angry vegan complain when I painted on an eggshell. And they were just like, had to go at me in the comments. I was just like, hey, what? Hey.
To be fair, we do
like,
often say you're the monster of the group, Ian.
You're a monster.
Dustin, what are your thoughts, side hustle wise? Because you kind of got a side hustle. I'm going to class your Instagram and stuff as that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess passive income for designers is a side hustle.
Oh yeah, true.
It makes money, so I consider that a side hustle for me. I don't know. Wait, what's
your
the question?
whole story started off as a side hustle, in a coffee shop with the ding, 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 just putting out products, trying to get by.
Yeah, it was definitely a side hustle at first. Yeah.
Do you think a side hustle has to make money? Or is that...
No, I don't think it has to. I
hope
think
not,
we all
'cause mine
define it
isn't.
differently.
It depends on the goal that you're wanting. Eventually, like, a lot of people just want to turn a side hobby into a side hustle, and then it's up to you and your goal or your vision if you want that side hustle to turn into a side business. So technically, like, mine's more than just a side hustle. Like, mine's a side business right now that I'm scaling to become a full-time business. But I think the side hustle is just the step leading into it. So, I mean, it could be used interchangeably, but it all depends on where you want it to be. You could just have a side hustle of, I work my day job, I love what I do, but at the same time, I really like lettering or illustrations at night, and I just have a side hustle of kicking out artwork. So, like, mine started just as a side hobby into a side hustle into a side business. There's levels to it,
I think as a man from the 90s, like the group in the 90s, I always think of hustling in like the hip hop perspective. And so I always think of hustles as doing something to make money that's unconventional, or that's a way to get around obstacles that have been put in place by socioeconomic situations. So I always consider, like, in my brain, side hustles to involve money in some way, because I connect it with listening to The Chronic or things like that when I was younger.
Nah.
It's the motherfucking...
Yes, that's like one of my favorite albums.
Yeah,
and I think it's all, yeah, there's the hustle culture and all that too. And I try to keep it super transparent. Like, I don't get the best sleep. I'm not going to say that Gary Vee worked 18 hours a day, screw sleep, screw relationships, all that. Like, I try to bring at least some context behind it. Like, hey, your family's super important. Relationships are super important. Your health is super important. So, there's a specific lens you need to see it through.
You kind of answered this already, but I think I hear it, and I hear similar stuff from people about the benefits of waking up. But for me, it's like life on paper, it's like you should exercise, you should spend time with family, you should sleep, you should have your business, you should do your side hustle. The same way it's like you should do Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook. So you got all like hundreds of plates spinning at once. And it's like, yeah, there's time blocking, and there's like doing it because you're passionate about it and feeling motivated. But I really struggle to like maintain every aspect of my life. I feel like as soon as I go like focus on my business, my friendships suffer, and I focus on my friendships, my relationship suffers, whatever it might be. I've always found it really hard, and I feel like life's an eternal battle of trying to spin them all, but never quite doing it well enough. Is that
I don't know if there's a,
is that really negative?
such thing as, I don't think there is a such thing as work-life balance. There kind of is, but at the same time, kind of is. And I think you're eventually, something's going to suffer.
Yeah.
You know, just pick the thing that you least care about suffering. So like my circle, I'm a very extroverted person. I used to be the guy, it's like, it's a Wednesday night, what's everyone doing? And now it's like, okay, I got maybe a handful of friends now who understand what I'm doing, and we can always just link up and catch back up anytime. You know, so if we don't hang out for a couple months, it's fine. So maybe from like the friend stratosphere of things, you know, most of my friends are all online, like you guys, or podcast guests, or, you know, people that are so like-minded that I'm in a Slack channel I can connect with really, really quick. Because most people around here don't get it.
Well, one of my favorite things you said earlier on was talking about inspiration. You're like, get off the computer and look at other stuff, which is, man, so healthy, because, you know, when we start talking, oh, I need to do Pinterest, I need to do Instagram, I need to do this, I need to do stories, I need to do Facebook, I need to read blog posts, I need to comment on blog posts. I mean, I could keep going, right? All that stuff is stuff that a bunch of people that have, you know, 80% of them have no authority to be telling you what you should be doing, have made these cultures around it of what you should do. And like, when you talk about doing that, I was like, yeah, I see you doing that. Or like, for instance, one of my favorite things, I don't watch a lot of stories on Instagram. I'm not a fan of consuming social media, but like, I'll click on yours, you know, because I know you, I like you. So I like to hear what you're doing. And when you're drawing and stuff, like, you don't seem like a, you know, you're trying to sell something or something. You'll have music on. I'll hear your favorite music in the background, and and you literally will draw to a rhythm sometimes. You'll be like, you know,
get some like rap going or something like that.
I was to say that was the Chronic coming out again.
Yeah, but I mean, you're doing it. You can tell you're just like, okay, I'm chilling for the night. I'm in my zone. I'm not doing this because some guru guy told me I should do this. You're just listening to music, making art. And that's refreshing.
Giving people a peek into the process. Like, it doesn't just happen. You know, here's a little peek into the process. Here are some brushes I might be using. You know,
well, how
stuff
did
like
you
that.
discover that? Like you see the propaganda like we do that tells you need to output a post every day that's super strong and viral or whatever. Like, well, how did you get into that space where you're just doing things because it appears you love it? It just seems like you're really having fun. Don't get me wrong,
I still feel like that. I feel like I'm missing the boat on Pinterest. I really tried doing that, but other things popped up, like, you know, the Side Hustlers War Chest or something like that aligns to the bigger picture. So again, it's that filter. It's like, this is the big picture. This is the goal I'm attacking this year to get me to the goal down the line. So if, like, you know, if it's not aligning to where I want to be, like, short term as well as long term, then, you know, I just got to let it go. You know, stop being so precious about everything. What's up?
What do you hate doing? Like, what is something that you feel like you have to do that you really dislike in terms of your work?
Everything I write down is like becomes a list of delegation, you know, between, you know, I have a couple people helping me out now because I used to do it all by myself, which is insane. What I hate doing. Gosh.
Super optimistic question for you there.
Things I hate.
I feel like it's important though. It's important to know what people, so they can be like me too, you know?
Admin stuff, or, you know, I used to love doing guest artwork for people, but now I'm like, it's not that fun. It's become a burden. You know, how can I just make a template now that I can, you know, offset to like Paige Garland, you know, shout out to Paige, the executive assistant of the podcast, killing it. Things like that, or like scheduling, you know, I'm trying to get that off the list. So if there's mundane tasks that continually built up and like I'm self-aware enough to have that trigger of like, this sucks ass. You know, I'll start building that task list and, hey Paige, or hey Colton, or hey Anya, when you guys help me out with this and take it off my plate? And, you know, I'm really putting those identifiers up now. Anything I can do to like delegate and free things up so I can focus on the big picture things that I love, then that's it. That's the whole goal, is just trying to delegate more. And it's something I've had to learn at the day job that's now helping me out, you know, with my personal stuff. It's not just, doesn't have to just be me. I don't have to do everything all the time.
Smart.
You know, say yes to the things that move the business forward. And right now it's podcast and website and all that, really trying to embrace this new pivot shift. And yeah.
So you're not trying to do it all, basically. Because I find every time we have a freaking guest on, they're so good and interesting that it's like bolting on another thing that I need to be perfect at. It's like we had Stefan Kuhn's on. It's like, okay, so I need to reverse engineer perfect Instagram strategy success. And then we talk to Scotty. It's like, okay, so I need to do the side hustle better. And when you listen to all this great advice, it is all great advice, but I guess you have to like pick the piece which is
You
right
have
for
to
you.
find what works for you that
Scotty, I
aligns
have
to where you
to
want
tell
to
you
go.
this is nothing to do with your side hustle, but when Dustin asked the question about terrible advice, I probably bring this guy up once every 50 episodes. It's my favorite comment ever on social media. We did a post on our Facebook page being like, what is something that you truly enjoy but are terrible at? And some guy in our community just commented saying sex with my wife. And
never gets old.
to this day, I love that guy.
That's hilarious.
It was so poetic. Okay, so as I know, we have to wrap pretty shortly. Seriously, 50 episodes time, that's going to pop in my head again. Because I know we have to wrap pretty shortly. Is there like a series of quick fire tips? Like, because you teach this stuff all the time. I know we've covered a lot of it, but almost like a summary. What stuff you can just ream off where it's like, if you're doing a side hustle, you should be doing X.
Okay. And this isn't a one size fits all. This is just what I believe. This works for me. And if you vibe to this, you have the same struggles, then, try to apply a couple of these to you. But one, what is it you want in life? What's your vision? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Like, have that little self-talk with yourself. Cause I think you need to know what you're shooting at. You need to have a target. So understanding what you want in life, where you want to be and who you want to become, like that should be always front of mind. You should always kind of reanalyze that every 6 months. I'm completely in a different direction than when I started. Like going into the end of 2018, I'm like on a completely different path, and you can't just get tunnel vision to that. Next, be intentional. If things aren't working for you and you show up each day and you're not sure what you're going to work on, that's a problem. If you just can show up and work on something and you don't need to think about it, that's good for you. That's not how it works for me. I need to be intentional. If you have a day job, you have 40 hours already accounted for in a week, especially if you have a kid or you have a relationship. So, understand where are those gaps each part of the day, identify those, and then what can you work on during those gaps to feel accomplished, and stop trying to climb Mount Everest in a day, little checkpoints in a day. So one big thing a day, one big task of writing a blog post each week, break each day down with, okay, so day one, my main A task in my world of this system that I'm building is build a mind map. Day two, build that mind map into an outline. Day three, write it out. Day four, edit it. Day five, this. So break that one big task into small tasks, okay? You don't have to climb Mount Everest in a day. You don't have to eat a full pizza in one bite, just one slice at a time. And then give yourself some grace. Stop beating yourself up. This is me talking to myself right now. It's like, you stop trying to run everyone else's race, run your own race. And
speaking to me,
yeah, I mean, you can't do it all right now. It's superhero syndrome. Identify what you're good at, try to delegate the rest. And finally, the last one that I really needed to do is know what you're saying yes to, why you're saying yes to it. You have this little self-filter that aligns with your goals, aligns with your vision, aligns with the mission, so you can grind with precision. That's yeah. Oh man, you should get a couple vodka shots in me, and I'll start rhyming all day.
Oh man,
rhyme and design.
I feel like we need to have you make a playlist, a Spotify playlist for us or something.
I am a hip hop junkie, and I grew up in the hood, so
Scotty,
I have some
if
fun.
you see my my Instagram bio, it literally says Snoop Dogg karaoke on it. So we need to get you down.
I'd get down on that. But that'd be it. Have that say, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So you need to have some kind of filter of where you're making these decisions from. And everything that you say yes to should align with that main vision. You should have all of this aligned. And this is all the things I wish I would have done even just a year ago. I was kind of doing everything all at once. And now I just feel really, really, really focused going into this new version of me in my business. So I can't recap everything I just said right there, so hopefully people taking notes.
I love it.
I wrote it down.
I love it.
We need to put it in the notes.
Scotty,
All
thank you so much for bringing such tremendous value to the show. I knew you would, but you stepped up. We appreciate it.
Always.
And yeah, where can people find you? Because they need to go check you out. We want to plug you up.
Yes, plug me.
That sounds wrong.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know when this comes out, but if you want to connect with me, I'm at perspective-collective.com, perspective_collect or PRSPCTV_CLLCTV. That's really hard to say. So just type in Perspective Collective on Instagram. You'll find me. Otherwise, vibe out to the podcast. Get a weekly dose of creative inspiration at perspectivepodcast.com or Perspective Podcast on Instagram. And, if you need some tools, I got a free resource out there for you. 6 buckets of, things that can help you grind outside your day job, murals, iPad accessories, whatever. All the main questions I get, that's over at sidehustlerswarchest.com. So free resource on me.
I'm taking a look at that. That's pretty sweet. And may I add, if you don't mind, just one more thing. If you ever have Scotty come into town or you're going to a conference and he's speaking, go to it. See the talk.
Yes.
It is easily the best talk I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh, that's too much. Damn. But I'll be doing my first live podcast at
for me.
Creative Works Conference too, if anybody's around there. So
incredible.
Facing a big fear on that one. So
yeah, seriously, this is like Honest Designers certified though. Go check out all of that stuff. Especially actually for me, the Perspective podcast, because I don't have a lot of time to listen to podcasts. That is one of the ones that I always try and make time for, because I love the positivity you bring. You get some great guests on. I don't want to say it's number one because we got to have some pride here, but I mean, we're tied with you if you want.
And then you gotta own your own passive income designer. But all 3 of you guys have been on the podcast, so I mean that says a lot about the quality of people I have on.
Yeah, it's really, really good though. So everyone, like, as soon as you're done listening to this episode, go search it up in your podcast app. Go listen to Perspective Podcast because it's super motivational. Really.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, friends.
Scotty, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Scotty.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too, if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.